and the sun played a major role in preparing the Golden State for the dramatic part it will play in this century of the Pacific. It began gold in '49. Gold that built San Francisco, the magic city by the Golden Gate, and started all California roaring on its way to greatness. The sleepy era of the Spanish mission slipped into history, along with the gold rush. Outsiders think of California as a lazy state, a place to play. But it was not all play to Californians. They were building. Building with pride in their accomplishments and with confidence in their future. These Californians were ready for the demands of the greatest war in history. And now they have rolled up their sleeves, ready to meet the demands of the greatest migration in the nation's history. Almost 4 million new residents have crowded across our borders in the past decade, seeking a home and a future under the sun in the Golden State. But finding that ideal little home under the sun was even more difficult than securing the future. The housing problem kept the experts awake at night until that old friend of the Chamber of Commerce, the California Sunshine, intervened. The Chamber of Commerce breathed a sigh of relief as the building trades raced to meet the demand. Hospitals and all public institutions have felt the terrific impact of this tidal wave of humanity. Almost 1 million new students have had to be accommodated in schools already seriously overcrowded. A new schoolroom a day will have to be added for the next 10 years to meet the demand. With this increased population has come the natural fear of unemployment. But big business, realizing that population, production, and sales go together, is moving west with the migration, moving west with faith in this dawning century of the Pacific. The factory smokestacks of the giants of United States industry are as familiar to San Franciscans and Angelenos as they are to the citizens of Chicago, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Heavy steel moved west, giving California its own basic and thoroughly integrated steel industry. The giant coke ovens of the sprawling Kaiser steel mills supply the fuel for one of the world's largest blast furnaces for producing pig iron from iron ore. And enough ore has been staked out in one California desert quarry to run the largest mill in the state at full capacity for at least 40 years. Steel is the mother of industries, and U.S. Steel's tremendous investment in the great plants of its western subsidiary, Columbia Steel, is evidence that the West is no longer a colonial outpost of the East. Bethlehem Pacific Steel, another giant in the steel industry, is firmly established in California with expansive mills and shipyards. The big names of the electrical industry are boldly expanding. Westinghouse is producing electrical products never before made in the West, while General Electric has long operated its Ontario, California plant to produce its electric irons for the entire nation and the world. 14 different makes of automobiles are now manufactured and assembled in California. The same number is produced in Detroit. A car a minute matches the best assembly line tempo and know-how of the East. Los Angeles ranks second only to Akron in tire manufacturing, with almost every big name in the industry represented. Together, they produce more than 14 million tires a year, most of them for travel-minded Westerners. The building materials industry, taxed to the limit by the demands of the increasing population, is expanding its facilities beyond recognition. The Permanente Cement Works cover an area a mile square and is the world's largest, producing more than a sack per second. Its giant revolving furnaces use more natural gas than the city of Oakland. Los Angeles is already running close to Grand Rapids for first place in the manufacture of furniture. While San Francisco ranks among the first spice, tea, and coffee ports of the world. California has long led the nation in the building of aircraft. One of the largest and most glamorous industries, it suffered fantastic cutbacks just after the war. But now, the great plants at San Diego, Burbank, and Santa Monica are operating on a long-range production schedule, producing planes for peace, as well as the mysterious jet-propelled weapons of space made to preserve the peace. Hollywood's motion picture industry rocketed into one of the world's biggest business enterprises, beckoning thousands with stars in their eyes. Radio, too, boomed into big business with almost as many national programs originating in Hollywood as in New York. California's press boasts one of the largest readerships in the nation and has long been the state's most enthusiastic booster. So great is the growing importance of Western readers that two of the nation's leading weekly periodicals use the ultra-modern facilities of the West's largest press in Los Angeles to print West Coast editions. Not the least by any means of California's new industrial expansion is the tremendous growth of its clothing industry. San Francisco has its own apparel city. While Los Angeles is first in the nation for its sport styles. The enterprise and taste of manufacturers like Cole of California are rapidly diminishing the lead once held by New York's clothing industry. The highly prized California look is becoming a must all over the country and can be recognized without even a glance at the label. The strength of California's industries lies in the great financial houses of the West. In their boardrooms along Montgomery Street in San Francisco and in the stock exchange on Spring Street in Los Angeles, decisions are made daily that influence the future of California and the entire Pacific world. The nation's most overtaxed communication system struggles frantically to keep up with the demands of this new, growing industrial empire and at the same time add service for thousands of new homes every day. Public transportation systems, too, are seriously outgrown. More than 4 million cars are roaring over streets and highways built for only 500,000. Los Angeles, the city of magnificent distances, tackled the problem with typical Hollywood disregard for cost or effort and slashed boldly through residential and business areas to construct urgently needed speedways. The state highway construction program is staggering in its scope, requiring an expenditure of $75 million a year for the next 10 years. In spite of all the problems and growing pains, the sinews of a new and sound industrial empire are being forged by Californians who realize the magnitude of their undertaking and the possibilities of their future. Theirs is the gigantic task of using and developing wisely their vast natural resources. some of which, like oil, have already been dangerously depleted. Unless more new discoveries are made, the state and the West may face a serious oil shortage. The forests of Northern California are vast and beautiful. They, with the timber of neighboring states in the Northwest, provide nearly half the nation's lumber. Lumbermen, aware of the dangers of depletion and conscious of waste in the past, are making every effort through reforestation and conservation to assure sufficient timber for the future. Like other natural resources, water power, the backbone of industry, is inexhaustible in California. It needs only to be harnessed. Work is in progress on private and federal projects all over the state in an attempt to meet the demands for power for this and future generations. The penstocks of the government's Shasta Dam send the waters of the Sacramento River through giant dynamos capable of producing enough power for not one, but several major cities. San Francisco engineers added a new lake to the map in the heart of Yosemite when they built Hetch Hetchy Dam to supply their city with water and power. And thirsty Los Angeles reached up 175 miles in the High Sierra to take the entire Owens River water supply. Water is the very lifeblood of California's richest industry, agriculture. The lack of water for irrigation and city water systems is the state's greatest problem. The federal government, recognizing the urgency of this problem and the importance to the nation of its solution, has built great dams like Shasta, Hoover, Davis, and Parker. But these are only part of a master plan for water conservation for California and the West. The Friant Dam stores the cold waters of the San Joaquin at the base of the High Sierra. Waters which are diverted and sent south through a man-made river to parched but fertile areas in Fresno, Tulare, and Kern counties, where eventually 500,000 new acres will be brought under cultivation. To replace the diverted waters of the San Joaquin, the world's largest pumping plant will force the waters of the Sacramento, stored 300 miles to the north by Shasta Dam, uphill 200 feet through giant aqueducts. From here, it will flow 120 miles south through another man-made river to complete the great exchange of waters between two rivers. Thus, the work of man is dramatically balancing the unequal distribution of land and water which nature has imposed on California's Central Valley, assuring its future as a land of great promise. Far to the south, along the Mexican border, the All-American Canal winds through the Sahara-like sand dunes of the Great American Desert. It pours millions of tons of Colorado River water onto the floor of the once desolate Imperial Valley, turning it into the nation's biggest vegetable garden. So hot and so fertile, it produces one crop after another the year round. The valley is one of the largest beet sugar producing centers in the country. And to the north, just back of the coast, are the wide acres of the Salinas Valley, famed as the salad bowl of America, producing millions of tons of lettuce, celery, and artichokes. California also boasts the biggest strawberry patches in the nation, producing the finest berries. And flowers for seeds. Acres upon acres of them are big business in the Golden State. California holds another first in the production of olive oil and in the processing of table olives. And its famed avocados from San Diego County have changed the salad tastes of the nation. Golden oranges are the symbol of California in every American home. Millions of crates of California oranges and lemons make a major contribution to the health of the nation and to the wealth of California. The thousands of acres of rice fields in the upper Sacramento Valley are reminiscent of the rice paddies of Asia. Believe it or not, is the fact that millions of pounds of rice are shipped annually to the rice-hungry Orient. Ultra-modern methods of rice and cotton culture have boosted California high on the list of states producing these two deep south crops. The good wines from the extensive vineyards of Cucamonga and the San Joaquin and northern valleys are receiving international acclaim. California's wines, competing with the world's finest in Paris and London, have won the highest honors for their quality and excellence. The produce of California's soil is colorful, varied, and abundant. Processing the vast variety of food that pours from the state's rich horn of plenty is the world's largest fruit and vegetable canning industry, canning familiar brands known in every American home and in the ports of the 7 seas. Serving this great industry are the world's largest tin can plants in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And big Eastern glass manufacturers long ago joined the trek westward to supply California's demands for glass containers. The abundant harvest of the sea off the coast supports an important part of this vast food processing enterprise. California is first among the fishing states in the Union, accounting for all the nation's sardine pack. And almost 90% of the nation's tuna are packed in San Diego. The meatpacking industry of California, long an unimportant stepchild of the big Chicago and Kansas City packers, is growing up. Livestock, once shipped east from the great grazing states, is being shipped to Los Angeles packing houses. California is one of the most important poultry-producing states in the nation. The poultry farms of Petaluma and other egg basket areas are a major enterprise, scientifically operated. And turkey growing, too, holds an important place in the state's agricultural economy. Sheep ranches in the north are justly proud of their production record, which has made California the 4th wool-producing state in the country. Only a few of the big, colorful cattle ranches with cowboys are left to lend a flavor of the Old West to growing California. Yet, the state's production of beef is increasing in quantity and quality as a result of modern methods of breeding, fattening on smaller farms. But Her Majesty the dairy cow is California's #1 citizen in the livestock world. Because of the sunshine and ideal conditions on its dairy farms, California cows produce more milk than cows in any other part of the nation. Dairymen are proud of their carefully bred herds and of the standards which they rigidly maintain in handling milk, in spite of the increased demands imposed on them by the great influx of consumers into the state. The high costs of feeding forced them to decrease their number of cows, while at the same time, more milk was needed. California dairymen solved the problem by taking the lead in scientifically feeding and handling nature's delicate milk factory to increase her production. The dairy industry is a public service industry. A 7-day-a-week, round-the-clock job. It, like other overtaxed service industries, is expanding to meet the needs of the increased population. At the same time, it's looking out beyond the Pacific to the needs of the hungry peoples of the world, manufacturing evaporated milk of quality second to none. As well as being high on the list of exports from the state, California canned milk is a familiar item on grocers' shelves throughout the West. Scientists in the highly advanced laboratories of the Golden State Company Limited, California's largest milk concern, are constantly working to improve the quality of all milk and milk products. And they have perfected new methods of producing powdered whole milk, methods that are in dramatic use in the world's largest dried milk plants. The year-round mild climate of California has always created a heavy demand for ice cream, a demand which has made it possible for the industry to develop new and better methods of production. One Golden State plant alone is equipped to make 6 million gallons a year of America's favorite dessert. The great efforts of the milk industry to meet its problems has assured every grocery store and every home the visit of the familiar, friendly figure of the milkman. The man whose industry is aiding in the building of the health and well-being of this and future generations. Californians, challenged by the big events that are shaping their destiny, will tell you of their daring plans for tomorrow. They'll tell you of their plans for the expansion of their ports, based on their belief that the Pacific Ocean is the world's next great pool of trade and commerce. San Franciscans will tell you of their World Trade Center that will rise along the Embarcadero, a $50 million monument to their faith in the future of California, and the future out beyond the Golden Gate. Beyond the great ports of Oakland, Los Angeles, Long Beach, and San Diego. The people of California sense the important role they will continue to play in the development of the whole Pacific world. They are ready for the immense volume of foreign trade which they are confident will come with increasing momentum as the Philippines, Indonesia, China, and all Asia begin to find their rightful place in this new era of the Pacific. So what of the future of the Golden State? It sounds like epic poetry to hear hard-headed businessmen, not given to empty dreams, describe the cities and towns and farms and way of life their children and children's children will see and enjoy in the California of tomorrow, the California that will play a leading role in the century of the Pacific.